All right, welcome back once again, everybody. It's the Dr. Treefruit and Don podcast. I'm Don Seifrit. I'm here with Dr. Carrie Peter. Say hi, Carrie.
Hi.
And Dr. Sean Kumar. Say hi, Sean.
Hello, everyone.
It is Wednesday, October 9th. It's hard to believe it's already October 9th. It'll be probably a pretty short episode today with just Carrie and Sean. Carrie, I'll let you go first. I think you've got a couple short updates, it seems like.
Yes, I do. As far as a disease update for right now for folks, so let's talk about what you need to worry about right now for disease management. The first is since we've had quite a bit of rain over the last couple of weeks, making sure you have a fungicide applied to those late season varieties. You may have already done this maybe 2 weeks ago. Think about how much rain has fallen since you last applied. Think about when those last cultivars are going to be harvested and make the decision of do I need to apply a fungicide or not? This will be very helpful for any of those late season cultivars that are going to be held in storage for a period of time. Because, right now, those fruit, they still have the ability to become infected, especially if there's any rain showers that pop up. So just be mindful of how old is that fungicide residue on those late season varieties. The next thing we need to be thinking about is preparations for disease management for next season. And one way to do that is through sanitation, getting rid of the overwintering sources that provide the spores, particularly for fungal diseases like apple scab or Marsanina blotch or even cherry leaf spot for next season. So those diseases, the spores are overwintered in the leaves, and that's how they are carried over from season to season. So the question is getting rid of the leaves. How do you get rid of those leaves? So the best way to get rid of the leaves is using a urea solution, spraying a 5% urea solution onto your trees. So 5% urea solution, if you're doing 100 gallons to the acre, you'd be putting 40 pounds of feed grade urea into 100 gallons of water, and you spray that to your acre. What basically the rationale for this, for spraying urea on your trees, is that it's providing a nitrogen source to feed the good microbes, to help the good microbes break down that leaf tissue. If you don't have any leaf tissue, the spores won't be able to survive to next season. Therefore, there aren't any spores to wreak havoc in your orchard for next year. So you would want to aim to do this probably in November, probably when the threat of the leaves are going to be falling off, as far as the ease of applying the urea solution. People often ask, well, I missed the leaves while they were still in the trees. Can I spray it on the ground? Yes, you can spray direct the urea to the ground even if the leaves have fallen off the trees. So there is some flexibility to this urea solution. To even help the breakdown of the tissue even more, you can use a flail mower to help break down the plant material. That will even ensure really even more efficient breakdown in addition to the urea. It may take a little extra effort, a little extra work, but assess your situation with regards to how bad was particularly apple scab. I know there's some growers who suffered from apple scab this year because we had 2 straight weeks of wetness back in late April, early May, and that caught a lot of people off guard. So some people may be really hurting as a result of that scab, that high scab infestation. So you may want to do a 1-2 punch with getting rid of your scabby leaves, spraying urea and then going in with a flail mower or going in and mulching up the leaves. Anything to kind of help those leaves break down so they aren't there for next year. So again, for apples, this will help with your apple scab and Marsanina blotch. This will also help for cherry leaf spot on your sour cherries as well. You can use the same exact method. As far as the question of will this nitrogen in the fall impact the trees negatively for coming spring? And the research shows that it doesn't. It's not going to negatively impact that boosted nitrogen this time of year is not going to negatively impact the trees. So you are safe to do it. And I really encourage folks to do this, especially if they've a problem. We are doing this at FREC because we have some hot spots in some of our research orchards that we want to get ahead of. So we will be implementing this strategy as far as to limit disease for next season. Another thing is while you are harvesting your fruit right now, or if like even if there are still fruit in your trees, drop the fruit. Those fruit will most likely get rotten, and they will mummify and they'll become little spore factories for next year. If they aren't in the trees, you don't have spore factories from those mummified fruit. So for any apples, especially for these later varieties, just strip the trees, drop all the fruit to the ground, and again, Mother Nature will take care of all of that. And again, urea will also help break down that fruit material as well, especially if you have drift going down in the ground. It's not going to hurt it. And anything that will help break down that organic material, this will help basically help clean your orchard up so you're going into the next season in much better shape as far as being able to limit disease. So this is a cultural management strategy. Uh, Another thing, as far as another management, so two comments about two particular diseases that it can be tricky to manage. Okay, one is peach leaf curl. Peach leaf curl, this was a good peach leaf curl year, especially for some of us at Freck who have not implemented peach leaf curl management strategies. I'm talking about myself. I had some pretty good peach leaf curl in some of my peach and nectarine trees this year. Peach leaf curl can only be managed when all the leaves are off the trees. And the reason that is because the spores reside in the buds. And when the leaves are there, the spores are protected by the leaves. So you need to wait until all the leaves are off the trees to effectively control this disease. Not when 80% of the leaves or 50% of leaves, 100% of the leaves. Now, depending on how the fall goes, you may have already winterized your equipment by the time all your peach trees lose their leaves. So you can wait until late dormancy. But if you do wait until late dormancy, you have to make sure that it's before bud swell. So you need to be mindful of those crazy warm-ups we have in June, like in January, when we have 70 or 80 degrees temperatures, those sort of these crazy summer temps in the middle of January. So if you do this fall, fungicides you can use, I would recommend Xyram is still available. Chlorothalonil is another option. If you have any Thyram or Furbam around, those are still options. Um, the one product that I would discourage people from using, and that's just because I've seen a decrease in efficacy, is copper. Copper just does not seem to. I've been disappointed in the efficacy of copper managing peach leaf curl, and I say that from personal experience on our own farm here at Freck. So use something stronger, a chlorothalonil, Bravo Weather Stick, or the generic. Like I said, if you still have the broad spectrum of Thyram or Furbam around, this will be good. Throw that on the trees. So those are your broad spectrum fungicides that you can use. And that should clean up your trees really well. And you typically only need to do one application. For some people who've had really severe infestations of peach leaf curl, they may want to do two. They may want to do one in the fall and one at late dormancy just to make sure they've cleaned everything up. Because I have seen some pretty severely diseased trees from peach leaf curl. So peach leaf curl. The other disease that I want to mention, because this was an excellent year, especially in Adams County, is rust. Cedar apple rust and quince rust. Now, people may be thinking, oh man, like I need to get rid of the leaves, I need to get rid of this, and need to get rid of that. Culturally speaking, it's very difficult to manage rust culturally. This is a very difficult disease. The reason why, because it requires a secondary host, another host, to basically have the next phase of the disease. So it requires two hosts to complete a disease cycle. In this case, it's cedar trees. And Adams County is plentiful with cedar trees. Tons of dried up cedar apple rust galls and quince galls on these trees. So you can't, unless you get rid of every single tree in Adams County, which is virtually impossible, you need to manage this disease chemically. And there really isn't a cultural strategy to do it. The leaves aren't going to make a difference because the leaves have already spewed their spores. Those infected apple leaves have already spewed their spores, and they've already gone to the cedar trees to complete the disease cycle. So those infected leaves this year with rust are not going to play any role whatsoever next year. The damage has already been done because the cedar trees are now basically housing next year's, or depending on when the galls show up, it'll be next year's year after as far as the spores for next year. So that's rust. And this was a great season for rust. The last thing I want to mention is weather station maintenance. Please don't forget to give some love to your weather station. There's all kinds of great resources online for weather station maintenance. Whatever company you use, they should have resources. If you are in the NUA network, the Network for Environmental Weather Applications out of Cornell, they have a really good help section about weather station maintenance. Please give love to your weather station. I'm in the throes of maintaining my weather station. I've had to replace the leaf wetness sensor this year. I'm in the process of replacing the wind sensor. I don't know what's next. So they need some love. It's not one of these, set it up and walk away. You do have to clean it out, make sure it was working properly, and properly maintain it. So it's functioning through the winter and then ready to go next season. So with that, those are all the tidbits I have. The last thing I want to mention is the Mankazeb comments, the EPA Mankazeb comments. We mentioned this in the last podcast, and also a disease alert or disease update went out about 2 weeks ago. I'm going to try to rerun that one again. Remember that the proposed interim decision for changes to Mankazeb are significant, especially for apple growers. The re-entry interval is going to be lengthening. There's going to be a prohibition of hand thinning. And then if you're a grape grower, they're wanting to get rid of all of the labels or all of the registrations for grapes. So this is major. This is pretty major. So Don, I will link the article in our description. And I will also basically get this out again to remind people. And also, it's very important that your voice be heard. The EPA reads every single comment it receives. And they will act accordingly based on the comments. Your voice does have power. So take your time to craft a thoughtful comment. Don't be adversarial or confrontational. In the article, I give you prompts to think about what to write about with this, especially if you're an apple grower. As far as thinking about how these changes would impact you. And just write what you're thinking. How is it going to, and be honest, but don't be confrontational. Don't be adversarial, because your comment will be thrown off. You will be thrown out if that tone is even sort of indicated. But the EPA, they read everything. And so it's important that every voice is heard. And so do your best to submit comments about this important fungicide. And like I said, that it's significant. Like I said, for apples, they're wanting to increase the reentry to, I think it's 4 days. And then for as far as 4 days for palm fruits for restricted entry, and the prohibition of hand thinning. That's a big deal. And a lot of people, hand thinning increases their crop value. Chemicals often don't always do the job depending on the year. Sometimes it works great, sometimes it doesn't, but the majority of growers do go in and hand thin. So this is significant. So please read the article, please comment. It closes October 16th at 11:59 p.m. So it's a week away. So just please let your voice be heard. And that is it.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary. Sounds good. I think people will appreciate that update. Sean, I think you've got maybe a short weed update. Is that
Yeah,
what we're working on?
that's what I'm going to talk about. I just want to talk about a little bit about like fall weed applications. I know some growers tend not to do the fall applications and then do the spring applications, but as you know, you can get good control only with both these applications together. And one of the common concerns is that, growers are like, we are still harvesting up to the end of October, beginning of November. And by that time, you don't want to harvest when it's you don't want to spray herbicides when it's too cold. So what I would highly suggest is a split application. If you're not able to cover those 1 or 2 blocks where you're harvesting in November, just leave them alone. But you can do your herbicide sprays in the fall for your other blocks without leaving that Pink Lady block alone or Black Fuji block alone. That is one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing is we are slowly understanding through the symposium that Kerry Peter organized, the Tree Decline Summit, that herbicides also do play a role. And there's been a lot of work going on in terms of how it damages young trees. So it is important to keep in mind that the herbicides are able to enter through the trunk and sometimes cause damage to young trees. And that is one of the reasons that could explain some decline situations in young orchards. So you really want to use that tree shields or directed sprayers in order to minimize the contact with tree trunks. Another way is, of course, to paint your tree trunks white or to have some sort of tree guards, or so to make sure that your trunk, especially in the first few years, is not taking a lot of your herbicide. Now, as far as some products are concerned, there's been a lot of talk about herbicide-resistant weeds, and especially maristale. We are not able to control some of that, and so it's important to have a combined fall and spring program. And our weed scientist Kayo is working on some of the options, but as of now, good options for glyphosate-resistant maristale is you can apply Trevix at about 1 ounce per acre. Gramoxone is also effective, but also gramoxone also has resistance out there, so it's important to keep that in mind. The other option is to apply glufosinate, which is Rely, at 56 fluid ounces per acre. That should work well as well. And then 2,4-D also works well, but different products of 2,4-D have different application restrictions, so it's important to check the label to make sure that you can apply it at that time. The caveat for using most of these herbicides that I just mentioned is that they work well only when temperatures are warmer than about 70 F, and if the plants aren't bigger than 3 to 4 inches in diameter. Otherwise, if your weeds have already grown a lot and then you just use a burn down herbicide for now to burn out your weeds, and then you can come in the spring and apply some pre-emergent herbicides to help with the continued control of your weeds. And some other options that you do have for pre-emergent herbicides is Surflan, especially for young orchards. It provides good control of some annual grasses and some broadleaf weeds as well. And pendimethalin, which is Prowl, H2O, and that's being commonly used as well by some of our growers. And so it controls a broad range of both annuals and some broadleaf weeds as well. So the advantage of using something like Prowl is that it helps to reduce the weed pressure in the fall itself, so that you have lesser weed pressure in the spring. And similarly, you could use Chateau or Princep, which is flumioxin and simazine. The other post-emergent herbicides that you can use for the fall application is, I already mentioned some of them, which is glufosinate, Rely, and then you can also use carfentrazone, which is AIM. And I know some of the growers also use gramoxone, which is paraquat, but we are slowly moving away from that since we are seeing some resistance in some areas. And so that's that for me as far as a weed update is concerned. I hope you're keeping an eye out on our maturity updates that Daniel, Don, and I are working on and publishing every week to help you harvest some or make decisions on harvest for some of these varieties. And again, I'd like to end with the call for the Northeast Sustainable Agricultural and Research Education Farmer Grant that gives up to $30,000 to any of you who are interested to try something new, be it a new growing system, be it a new pesticide regimen that you want to try on, or insecticide regimen, or some sort of new idea you have with terms of energy conservation or upgrading your systems to try to see if it conserves energy and you're able to, it helps with the long-term savings. Things like that, any projects like that, please reach out to any of us as appropriate, and we'll be happy to help you with those kind of projects.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean.
One event that is coming up in December, it's called the Cultivating Business Conference. And as far as the little blurb, it says discover growth strategies at this conference, including Google, social media, AI marketing, farm funding, grants, retirement, legal, tax tips, POS systems, and finance apps. And it's held in Westchester on December 9th, 2024. And looks like it's an all-day event for $150. And Don can put the link for this registration in the description, and just sort of give you about this in-person conference. And I'm just reading right from the webpage. It says, are you a business owner seeking opportunities to level up your operation and create meaningful connections with other business owners? Join us for the first annual Cultivating Business Conference at the unique American Helicopter Museum in Westchester. Presenters will guide us through cultivating and growing small businesses with insights on marketing, financial planning, and succession planning. And so as far as what you will learn, it says Google and social media to build and grow business, AI and marketing, accessing capital for farm and food businesses, accessing grants for farm and food businesses, retirement planning for entrepreneurs, legal and tax structures for business and land ownership, choosing a point of sale system, and apps for business and finance record keeping. And there's more information on the website. More specifically, there is a very detailed agenda. There's lots of talks. There looks like they're anywhere from 15-minute to 30-minute to an hour sessions. So there looks like there's a lot of really good information. So for folks that who deal with that, especially in the small business side of things. So
Cool. I will put that in the episode description, and folks can have access to that. And hopefully
and
some
this
folks
is Penn
will,
State Extension sponsored. So
hopefully some folks will attend. Cool. Thank you both for coming on today, and thanks everybody for listening. And have a good one. Say goodbye, everybody.
all right. See you later.
Bye, everyone.